Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux here with the Daily Racing Form and with another stakes preview. We're going to take a look at race number 10 this Saturday, May 20th at Pimlico. It's the $100,000 Jim McKay Turf Sprint, 5 furlongs on the grass, and it's a really big field. I think it's a really great field as well. We'll take a look at it. 13 runners in here. Some of the bigger names: Artemis City Limits, Red Ortiz Jr. booked to ride Smoking Jay, who he's been a little inconsistent, but when he's good, he's very strong. Coppola is another horse that I think is interesting. This one was a pretty nice winner in that most recent outing at Churchill with 100 buyer speed figure. Beer Can Man, I think, with a better trip has a shot. And even the horse on the rail, which we'll start with, the number 1, Nothing Better. He's been pretty impressive so far, a very consistent type, 8 for 20 in the career. And we're going to take a look at one of those wins. It was actually his last outing at Aqueduct back in the middle of April. He's the 4 in here. 9-5 was the price you had to get on him in this race, but he raced like he should have. He had the lead, showed that great gate speed, and was able to hold on in here to win by 3/4 of a neck. And he did face some pressure here on the outside. Into the Sunrise was trying to catch up with him. And once he kind of seemed to see that runner on his outside, he kicked in here. He had to hold off a late closing runner in there, a Straight Answer, but I thought it was a really good performance, and he's just very quick. Look down the page. If he were to get an easy lead in here, I think he's extremely tough, and he draws the inside. So I do think he is a major player. He's only going to make his second start of 2023. I really like that he was able to win first off the layoff, and I think just knowing his running style, there's no reason he couldn't replicate that performance second off the layoff. The number 2, Kenny Had a Notion. He's a big price in here, 50-1 morning line. He's 1 for 5 in his career on the grass. You have to go pretty far down to find that win. His best effort most recently was 2 starts back, sprinting on the dirt in the Not for Love in that restricted stakes race where he was forwardly placed. But for him, the turf actually hasn't been his best surface. Most of his wins have come on the dirt. Number 3, Artemis City Limits. This one, trained by Michael Maker, was 11th last time out in the Shakertown and actually took a tremendous amount of respect in there. Was 4-1 in a wide open event. Caravel, I say wide open, maybe it was wide open for underneath. Caravel's just taken so much respect in the races we've seen from her. And I think the thing is, prior to that, this horse did race in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, was 5th in that field of fortune at big prices. He was 75-1. You just go down and he's consistent. I do think he's obviously faced some really tough fields in his last couple outings, but he's tried to hold his own. And maybe he needed that race last time out. We hadn't seen him since the Breeders' Cup. So then just getting a little bit older each year, some of these horses, I'm willing to forgive them first off the layoff if they're not ready to roll. And this is just a really good angle for the barn. Michael Maker does really well with these types of horses. Second out. And Red Ortiz Jr., he's been aboard him a couple times. He's going to stick with them. So to me, that's a positive sign here in the Jim McKay Turf Sprint. The number 4, Uncle Ernie. This one out of the John Service Barn. Look at his races. He's done a majority of his racing on the dirt. He did try the turf, though, back in September of 2022 in the Turf Monster. That's right, ended up being the winner. He's going to have to face that one again. And that race, I think, is always a very competitive Grade 3 event every year. But since then, he has been able to rally off 2 wins on the dirt at Parks. They've tried him down at Gulfstream Park. He certainly disappointed in his first start in the Grade 3 Mr. Prospector, but he did step it up in the Gulfstream Park Sprint. It was also, in my opinion, maybe softer competition. You look at the Mr. Prospector was won by Sibelius, who was able to go over and win the Golden Shaheen. So for me, the big question with Uncle Ernie, does he like the turf? That'll be to be determined this Saturday. The number 5, Smokin' Jay. This one out of the Kelsey Danner Barn. He's done a really good job with the son of Cairo Prince, who seems like he's a little quirky, seems like he's a little inconsistent. He did disappoint last time out at Keeneland, and he did take some respect in there. But we're going to take a look at his win 2 starts back down at Gulfstream Park, going 5 furlongs. Interesting to see him in here. He's going to have to make up a ton of ground late. He's the gray here. You can see post position number 2. He's going to get to the outside of these horses that tried to kind of take it on the front end in here. They did go extremely quick in this race. Are set up for him beautifully, but he was able to get the job done in here by a length. I thought he looked great. I think that is why he took so much respect in his next outing at Keeneland, and it just did not set up for him in the same way that he got that perfect trip at Gulfstream. Tyler Gaffleone was aboard him in those last 2. He sticks with him in here. To me, as I mentioned, kind of looking at Red Ortiz Jr.'s horse, I think that's a really positive sign. And Tyler has been riding phenomenal all year long. Doesn't matter where he's gone. He's been able to take, his tack, and he's been able to perform on the biggest stages. Number 6, That's Right. Mentioned this one. This one won the Turf Monster back in 2022. Made 1 start after that. Was the pace setter in that stakes race at the Belmont and Aqueduct meet. We haven't seen him since then. He's only a 4-year-old. He's been quite strong in what we saw last year. We'll see if he makes the transition now to 4 and has a slew of bullet works in preparation for this start. Just an interesting note for the trainer, Michael Moore. 43% with horses off a 6-month or more layoff. So a pretty strong number to vote for that barn. The number 7, 4 Harp. This one out of the Robert Reed Jr. barn. Tried the dirt last time out to kind of wrap up that 2022 campaign. It certainly didn't work, and it's not super shocking because when you look at his numbers on the grass, he's just a much stronger animal. We saw that win too back at Laurel Park, and even when you go back 4 starts, was able to win sprinting by 6 lengths on the turf at Parks. Do you think this is a significant jump up, just knowing that a lot of these other horses have fared in stakes races and even graded stakes races and fared well? Jose Ortiz has the mount. The number 8, Grateful Bred, this one out of the Madison Myers barn. This is a Maryland-bred son of Great Notion who I think has been really fun to watch throughout his career in the Mid-Atlantic. He's been able to take his show on the road, and just look at his record. Consistency is key for him. He's 5 for 18, 11 for 18 in the money. He did disappoint on Maryland Million Day in his last start, but prior to that, pretty consistent type. I would say as of late, he's had a little bit of trouble trying to find it to the winner's circle. I think in a spot like this, a minor share maybe at best, but he's been very consistent. And the good thing that he does have 2 wins locally at Pimlico. He's 2 for 4 in his career over the surface and seems to be training very well to make his 7-year-old debut. The number 9, Determined Kingdom. This horse was 6th last time out at Colonial, another one that's had that time off. And it's not uncommon to see these trainers in the Mid-Atlantic put their horses on the shelf and gear up for a pretty big spring and summer. And you can see they've done this in the past. He's been okay off the layoff. You can see kind of had that break for 3 months and was able to finish 3rd in April of 2022 in the Animal Kingdom. And since then, he has a pair of wins, 1 at Laurel, 1 at Colonial, both sprinting on the grass. But a lot of his efforts have been at 5.5. So we'll see a slight cut back to 5. He should be fine, but he seems to be like the type of horse that's going to get a good position early on and make one late run in the stretch. The number 10, Coppola, this one out of the Dale Romans barn. I looked at that race where this horse was 4th behind Smoking Jay. I had the jump on him where Smoking Jay just had a better late kick in the stretch, and Coppola was 78-1. And his next start at Gulfstream Park, he's bet all the way down to 5-1, finished 4th as well. And then he was a price most recently at Churchill going 5.5. And not only did he destroy his competition, he had a huge Beyer speed figure jump. He got 100. Prior to that, his best effort was that 89 when he was 4th behind Smoking Jay. I don't know, if 100 is what we'll see in this race from him if he performs at his best on Saturday, but I think he's trending in the right direction. He was really able to get a huge effort, 3rd off the layoff. To me, that's a positive sign. It's also positive. Johnny V rode him last out. He's going to stick with him, and it's really hard to knock in terms of his last performance because he is quick. He's not as quick as others in here, and he got a really nice trip just off the pace. He only had the pace setters in there a length or 2 off his sights, which I think could be key in the Jim McKay. The number 11, Noble Emotion. This horse has not fared too well in those last 3 starts, but 2 of them grade 2 events, 1 in the near Arctic, more recently in that Shakertown at Keeneland. Louis Sy is going to climb aboard this one. No starts at Pimlico. His best races, if you kind of go down the page, Saratoga has been very kind to him. 4 starts back, was able to win with a 93 Beyer speed figure. They went 5.5 on the good turf course on that day. So the time looks a little bit slow, but there's a little bit of moisture in the track. He's one that I'm going to take a wait and see approach just because I think he might need another race or 2 to get going. The number 12, Breakthrough, was 3rd last out in the Rainbow Air at Monmouth back in August. Had a pretty good summer up at Monmouth, especially in those last 3 efforts. He's another one, been on the shelf, but look at his workouts. He's been training phenomenally, especially those last 2 works since going from Parks to Monmouth. Very snappy. The most recent one was 47-2 handily, the fastest of 101 workers at the 4 furlong distance. And the barn is, pretty impressive. 3 for 6 with these long layoff types. Javier Castellano has the mount. And then finally, I feel like I've been talking forever now. It's a really big field. The number 13 will round it out. Beer Can Man. This one out of the Phil D'Amato barn. We'll end it with a replay here for this runner who was an allowance race at Keeneland back on April 22nd. It was his first start in over a year. Just to note, he's the 3. The number 2 is Smoking Jay. And right at this point, you can see that Beer Can Man's on the inside. I'm just going to watch him we're going to circle him right there. And we're also going to circle Smoking Jay. He's going to try to pick it up here in the stretch. But just looking at him, he's trying to do it. He's not really getting anywhere. He's now got horses kind of starting to charge on his outside, and Raylu Gutierrez is then going to win this race with Front Run the Fed with a tremendous ride, able to sneak through and weave through traffic to get the job done. I would say for that long of a layoff, I thought he ran pretty well. I think now just making that second start off such a long layoff, he should improve. Flavien Prat, very familiar with him, was aboard him in his last 4 outings, one of which was a win. Now he does get post 13 in here, and I don't love the post, but I will say if he can just get some position where he's able to clear several runners and tuck in, I think he's got an interesting chance this Saturday. So field of 13, lots that we went through. I go to the number 10, Coppola, and I'll be honest, I love this horse in his last outing. I used him on my tickets. I do think, him kind of running 100 buyer speed figure again, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but I like him in terms of the way that he was able to get along with Johnny V in the race. He was making his 3rd start off the layoff, and I think he's tactical enough in here to be close to the pace and hopefully make that late run that he was able to unleash last time out at Churchill. He's 6-1. I do think he'll offer some value in this race. The number 1, Nothing Better. Went with him for my second choice. I think he's extremely tough because he has the inside draw. He has a ton of natural gate speed, and he gets bold on the front end. So I think he's a must-use. He certainly could actually even win this race, in my opinion. The number 5, Smoking Jay, another one I'll use. I am a little concerned. He is slightly inconsistent, but anything close to his race 2 back would certainly put him in the mix on Saturday. And then we showed that really for the number 13, Beer Can Man. And just looking at that effort, I think he's sitting on a better effort. I think he can improve. I love that Flavien stays with him. He's really familiar with him, and we'll see what he can do from post 13. For me, I'm all in on the number 10 in this edition of the Jim McKay Turf Sprint. Good luck.